When your boss punishes you for doing your job right, you start to question what right even means. My name is Amelia, and 3 months ago I was on top of my world, leading a successful department, loved by my team, and finally feeling that maybe hard work did pay off. But that illusion shattered the day I fired Jason, the CEO's son. It wasn't personal. It was a decision based on months of late reports, missing funds, and team complaints. Jason treated everyone like servants, strolling in at noon, calling interns useless, and vanishing whenever real work appeared. I warned him 3 times, documented everything. Still, he smirked at me, saying, "You wouldn't dare fire me. My dad signs your paycheck." I did it anyway. And for a few days I felt something rare: peace. Justice. But that peace turned to hell the moment Mr. Callahan, our CEO, returned from his overseas trip. He didn't ask for my side of the story. He didn't read the files. He just stormed into my office, slammed a folder on my desk, and shouted, "Who the hell do you think you are, Amelia?" The walls shook. My colleagues froze outside. That day I realized I wasn't just fighting an arrogant son anymore. I was fighting an entire system built to protect him. Little did I know the very reports I'd written, the ones they tried to bury, would one day destroy both of them. I wasn't born to climb corporate ladders. I came from a small town where people still waved at neighbors and baked pies for community fundraisers. My parents ran a tiny grocery store, nothing fancy, but it taught me something invaluable. Do your work right, even when no one's watching. When I first joined Callahan Industries 5 years ago, I was terrified. Everyone looked so sharp, so confident. And there I was, clutching my coffee like a lifeline, praying I wouldn't spill it before the interview. But I learned fast. I stayed late, asked questions, volunteered for extra projects. Slowly, I rose to become a department manager. My mornings were sacred. I'd arrive before sunrise, when the office still smelled like cleaning spray and fresh coffee. I loved that quiet, the hum of computers starting, the city just waking up. It was peaceful before chaos. My team was my pride, hardworking, funny, honest people who supported each other. We had lunch together every Friday, laughed over silly inside jokes, and celebrated every small win. They weren't just colleagues. They were family. Then came Jason Callahan, the CEO's golden boy. He arrived one morning with a designer suit, expensive watch, and a look that screamed entitlement. He was placed under me as an assistant manager, though it was clear he had no idea what he was doing. His first week he missed 2 meetings. His second week, he submitted a half-page report that looked like it was written by ChatGPT on autopilot. First I tried patience. "Hey Jason, let's go through this section together," I'd say with a smile. He'd lean back, smirk, and reply, "Relax, Amelia. My dad said you'd help me learn. I'm not here to do grunt work." That stung, not because of the disrespect, but because I'd seen this before. People born into comfort who thought leadership was a birthright. Still, I believed people could change. So I tried mentoring him. Big mistake. He started showing up late, blaming others, and once even yelled at Maya, my best analyst, in front of everyone for a mistake he made. I had to pull him aside and warn him formally. He laughed. "You really think HR would take your side over mine?" That night, I sat in my car in the parking lot for nearly an hour, staring at the city lights. I could have stayed quiet. Most people would have. But silence protects the wrong people. So I documented everything, every missed report, every complaint, every unprofessional act. I didn't know it then, but those reports would become my weapon later. The same ones that would turn the CEO's wrath back on himself. The Monday after Jason's termination felt like walking into a war zone. I didn't start. People who used to greet me suddenly avoided eye contact. The morning chatter near the coffee machine went silent whenever I walked by. I could feel the whispers, invisible, sharp, and cold. Then came the email. Subject: Meeting with CEO urgent. My heart sank. I entered Mr. Callahan's office. The blinds were drawn, the air conditioner humming like a warning. He stood by the window, back turned, staring at the skyline as if the city itself owed him something. When he finally turned around, his eyes were burning. "Do you enjoy humiliating my family, Amelia?" I froze. "Sir, I only followed company protocol." "Jason." He cut me off, slamming his palm against the desk. "Jason is my son. You think firing him without my consent was brave? It was stupid." I kept my voice steady. With respect, sir, I followed HR policy. 3 written warnings. 2 verbal. He laughed. The kind of bitter, sarcastic laugh that makes your stomach twist. HR policy? You think rules apply to my son? Let me make this clear. Around here, I decide what's right. I swallowed hard. Then what do you want me to do? He leaned forward, his tone sharp as glass. You're going to fix this. Starting today, you're suspended from management duties. Effective immediately. My throat went dry. Suspended? But until further notice, he interrupted. You'll assist the administrative department with clerical work. Maybe some humility will help you remember your place. Humility. That word echoed in my head all day. When I left his office, everyone already knew. Rumors spread faster than the truth. By noon, someone had removed my nameplate from the manager's desk. Jason's old friends in the department smirked as I walked past. At lunch, my tray felt heavier than usual. I sat alone at the corner table, the same one where I once laughed with my team. Maya passed by, eyes full of guilt. She whispered, "They told us not to talk to you." That night, I stayed late in the nearly empty office, staring at my computer. I still had access to the system, my reports, the documentation, everything I'd written about Jason's misconduct. I knew if Callahan saw what was really in those files, everything would change. But for now I was trapped. Powerless. 2 weeks passed like that. I was given menial tasks, sorting mail, photocopying files, running errands like an intern. Every time I passed the CEO's office, his secretary's glare reminded me, "You crossed the line." The final straw came during the monthly meeting. Callahan announced in front of the entire board, "Due to managerial incompetence, the marketing department's results have fallen short. Effective immediately, Amelia Bennett is relieved of all leadership responsibilities." I stood there, silent. The room blurred. That night, as I drove home, the city lights flickered through my tears. I whispered to myself, "They think I'm done. But they've underestimated the woman who keeps records of everything." And that was the moment I stopped being the victim and started planning justice. The night after my public humiliation, I didn't go home right away. I sat in my car at the far end of the office parking lot, staring blankly at the steering wheel. The streetlights above flickered, painting the windshield in fractured yellow light. My reflection looked like a stranger, tired eyes, messy hair, and the faint trace of mascara running down my cheeks. I whispered into the silence, "Why did I even try to do the right thing?" The question echoed in the empty car, unanswered. I had spent years proving myself, late nights, skipped holidays, forgotten birthdays. Every achievement I'd earned was through sweat and sacrifice. Yet with one impulsive decision from a man who refused to face the truth, everything was gone. When I finally walked into my apartment, the stillness was unbearable. The clock ticked too loudly. The refrigerator hummed like background noise to my thoughts. I dropped my bag on the floor and sank onto the couch, hugging my knees. My phone buzzed, messages from my team. "Amelia, we're so sorry. Hang in there. We know the truth. I wish we could help." I couldn't reply. Every word felt heavy, useless. For days I went through the motions: shower, work, home, repeat. My mornings no longer smelled of coffee or ambition, just burnt toast and fatigue. I started wearing the same clothes, barely caring how I looked. People in the admin department treated me like an outsider, whispering when I walked by. One afternoon, while filing papers in the storage room, I overheard 2 of Jason's friends talking near the door. "She really thought she could fire him and get away with it," one said, snickering. "Yeah," the other replied. "Callahan made sure she'll never get promoted again. Probably gone by next quarter." Their laughter cut through me like glass. I bit my lip so hard it drew blood, fighting the urge to scream. That night I didn't sleep. I just lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling fan spinning above me. Every rotation sounded like a clock ticking down. A reminder that I was wasting time being broken when I should have been planning. The next morning something shifted. I made coffee, stronger than usual. As the aroma filled the kitchen, I looked at myself in the mirror, eyes swollen but steady. "No more crying," I whispered. "They took my job. They won't take my dignity." I opened my laptop and went through the old files: Jason's reports, his missed deadlines, the expense sheets he forged to cover his personal spending. I had everything. But one thing was missing. Proof that Callahan knew and helped him hide it. And then, I remembered something. A confidential email thread I was once accidentally CC'd on. One that mentioned adjustments to the quarterly audit numbers. At the time I ignored it, thinking it was a typo. But now it looked like a breadcrumb. As I scrolled through my inbox, I found it. Subject: Revised figures for Q2, Jason's request. From Callahan Richard. My pulse quickened. I whispered to myself, "You buried me with lies, Mr. Callahan, but I'm going to bury you with the truth." Revenge doesn't begin with anger. It begins with clarity. That morning, as sunlight spilled across my small kitchen table, I began to piece together the fragments of my downfall. Every email, every report, every inconsistency. I realized Callahan hadn't just protected his son. He'd rewritten records, manipulated data, and made me the scapegoat for their mistakes. The thought didn't make me angry. It made me focused. I opened a new folder on my laptop and titled it, Truth Project. First step, documentation. I compiled everything. Jason's deleted files, HR records, the anonymous complaints I had archived, and that damning email thread from Callahan himself. I saved multiple copies on a USB, a cloud drive, and one printed version locked in my home drawer. Second step, witnesses. I reached out to Maya, my analyst, the one Jason once humiliated. We met in a quiet cafe downtown. She looked nervous, glancing around before sitting down. "Amelia," she whispered, "I shouldn't be seen with you." "I know," I said, keeping my voice calm. "But you've seen what Jason did. You know how many rules they broke." She hesitated, then nodded. "You're planning something, aren't you?" I smiled faintly. "Not revenge. Justice." Maya leaned forward. "What do you need?" Over the next 2 weeks, I worked quietly. By day, I was the obedient ex-manager, making coffee runs, stapling papers, pretending to be invisible. By night, I became an investigator. Through Maya, I gained access to the internal audit archives, hidden behind layers of restricted permissions. What we found made my stomach twist. Jason and Callahan had rerouted funds from employee bonuses into executive development projects. In other words, their personal accounts. The evidence was explosive, but timing was everything. If I revealed it too soon, they'd cover it up. Too late, and someone else might take the blame. So I waited. The perfect opportunity came in the form of an upcoming board of directors review meeting, scheduled for the next quarter. The same meeting where Callahan planned to restructure departments, which of course meant officially firing me. I spent nights preparing a confidential report titled Internal Financial Misconduct, Evidence and Timeline. I wrote it with precision, referencing every transaction, timestamp, and policy violation. I even quoted Callahan's own words from emails that contradicted company law. To make sure the board had to see it, I used the company's internal document system, which automatically sent copies to all board members once uploaded under financial audit. Then I scheduled the upload for 7:59 a.m. on the morning of the meeting. That night I barely slept. I kept hearing my father's voice in my head, calm and firm. "Do your work right, even when no one's watching." When morning came, I dressed carefully. A navy blazer, neat bun, and no makeup. I wanted to look professional, not vengeful. I walked into the building like I owned the truth. 7:59, I pressed enter. The file went live. Minutes later, my phone buzzed. A flood of internal notifications. I could almost hear the panic spreading through the upper floors. By 8:30, the company's chat was on fire. "Did you see the audit file? Wait, are those real numbers? Who uploaded that?" I smiled to myself, sipping my coffee in the break room, acting like nothing had happened. For the first time in months, I didn't feel powerless. I felt alive. The storm was coming. And this time I was ready to walk through it. The morning of the board meeting felt unnaturally still, the kind of silence before a thunderstorm. I sat at my small desk in the admin corner pretending to work, while the top floor buzzed with chaos. Through the glass walls, I could see executives rushing in and out of Callahan's office, their faces pale. The air smelled of burnt coffee and panic. At 9 a.m., the elevator doors opened. Board members filed into the conference room. Stern faces, expensive suits, and an unmistakable aura of power. I wasn't invited, of course, but I didn't need an invitation anymore. Maya messaged me. "They're reading it. The CFO looks furious." A minute later, Callahan shouting, "Jason's here too." I took a deep breath, steady and calm. The plan had worked. Inside that conference room, my file, internal financial misconduct, evidence and timeline, was being projected on the main screen. Line by line, it revealed every falsified number, every unauthorized transfer, and every fake expense report. Callahan's voice thundered from inside. "Who gave you this data? These are confidential files." The CFO replied coldly, "Files under your login credentials, sir." Jason stammered, "Dad, I didn't know she had that." "She?" One of the board members interrupted sharply. "You mean Amelia Bennett? The woman you demoted without a valid HR process?" Silence. From my desk downstairs, I could almost feel the weight of that silence. It was the sound of power crumbling. Then my phone rang. It was the assistant to the board chairman. "Miss Bennett, could you come to the 10th floor boardroom, please?" My heart pounded, but my voice stayed calm. "Of course." As I walked toward the elevator, people turned to look, some whispering, some smiling faintly. It was the first time in months I felt seen. When I entered the room, every eye was on me. Jason looked like he hadn't slept in days. Callahan's face was pale with fury. The chairman gestured to me. "Amelia, is this your report?" "Yes, sir," I said clearly. "Everything in there is backed by official records and system logs." Callahan slammed his fist on the table. "This is a setup. She's trying to destroy my reputation." I met his eyes steadily. "With all due respect, sir, you destroyed it yourself when you covered for fraud and punished the wrong person for doing her job." Gasps filled the room. One board member leaned forward. "Amelia, why didn't you come to us earlier?" I took a breath. Because in this company, truth only mattered when spoken by the powerful. I needed to make sure that when I spoke, you'd have no choice but to listen. The room went silent again. Finally, the chairman looked at Callahan. "Mr. Callahan, effective immediately, you are suspended pending investigation. Jason Callahan will also be removed from all company operations." Jason's mouth dropped. "Dad, you can't let them." But Callahan didn't answer. He just stared at me, disbelief, rage, and a flicker of something else. Maybe respect. Maybe fear. As security escorted them out, Maya caught my eye through the glass wall and smiled. A quiet, victorious smile. When the meeting ended, the chairman turned to me. "Amelia, you've done this company a great service. We'll need someone to help rebuild the integrity of your department." I nodded softly. "I'd be honored, sir." As I stepped out of the boardroom, the air felt lighter. I walked past the same corridor where I once stood humiliated and alone. This time, heads turned again, but in awe, not pity. And for the first time in months, I felt peace. But not the fragile kind. The kind that comes only after you've faced the storm and won. The news hit the office like a storm. HR had just sent an email. Ellis was suspended pending investigation. The same people who once whispered behind my back were now whispering about him. When I walked past, they didn't dare meet my eyes. Not anymore. At lunch, Mr. Thompson called me into his office. "Anna," he said, his tone softer than ever, "I owe you an apology. I trusted the wrong person." I didn't smile. I didn't say, "It's okay." I simply nodded and replied, "I just wanted fairness." He sighed. "You have it now. Starting next week, you'll lead the project again. And this time, under your own name." That night, when I looked at my reflection, I didn't see the timid employee Ellis used to mock. I saw someone who fought back smartly, quietly, and won. Revenge didn't come with shouting or chaos. It came with truth, proof, and patience. And as I shut down my laptop, a quiet smile appeared on my lips. Because finally, justice had my name on it. A few weeks later, Ellis resigned. No apology, no goodbye, just silence. The same silence he once used to humiliate others. The project I led went on to become the company's biggest success that year. And for the first time, my name was written in the company newsletter as the official lead. But more than the recognition, it was the lesson that stayed with me. Revenge doesn't always mean destroying someone. Sometimes the best revenge is rebuilding yourself so completely that the person who tried to break you becomes irrelevant. When I passed Ellis's old office, I didn't feel anger anymore. I felt peace. Because in the end, I didn't just win the project. I won myself back.